Hey, what's going on, everybody? Come on in and join me as I really wanted to share something with you. And I know that it's gonna probably make a lot of sense here as to what's going on in our relationships and in society. So, me personally, I'm always thinking deeply about what the root problem is to whatever the problem is that I'm thinking about, because talking about it to nausea is really not going to help anybody. It's just going to be therapeutic, and I don't want to just be therapeutic. I want to solve the problem. So, I like to think of myself when I think about relationships as naturopathic or holistic, because we want to get to the root of the problem as to what's going on and why it's going on so we can have a chance to fix what's going on. So I prepared something for you and I want to read it to you, and then I'm going to break it up and I'm going to discuss it, okay? All right, so this is the Snow White paradigm. Understanding modern fertility suppression and sexual marketplace dynamics. So now, obviously, uh, this is about women, and this is about in our society, whether you live in a matriarchal or a patriarchal society or however you're seeing it. I'm going to show you what the common enemy is, and I'm going to show you what the enemy is doing and what the long-term effects of it is. All right, so without further ado, let me go ahead and dive into it, okay? So the core to everything that I'm talking about is this. Modern society perpetuates a phenomenon best understood through the lens of the Snow White fairy tale, where older women, having made certain life choices, actively discourage younger women from pursuing paths that might lead to better outcomes. This creates a cycle of fertility suppression that ultimately harms women's long term happiness and fulfillment. So, in this, I'm going to break down why older women are the antagonist to younger women. And I'm going to use the Snow White theory. Not the old Snow White, but the new Snow White. Now, I don't want to ruin the movie if any of you want to see it, but I have little kids, so I know about this. Snow White had beauty and youth on her side. And in regards to her stepmother, or the queen, she was very jealous of Snow White. And so, because of that, she was trying to get to Snow White and inevitably destroy her. And Snow White ran into the forest where she found refuge with, ironically, the seven dwarfs. Now, the dwarfs weren't named in the movie, but they all represented protection for her, and they all represented protection for her against her stepmother or the queen. And I'm going to break this down for you, okay? In the classic tale, an older woman, the stepmother queen, feels threatened by the younger woman's beauty and youth. Snow White flees to find protection among hard-working men, the dwarfs. This mirrors modern dynamics where, well, when it comes to older women, often view younger women as competition rather than proteges. Very much so different than men. Men typically see themselves in younger men, but older women don't see themselves in younger women. They see them as competition, and I'm going to break down why. So oftentimes older women often view younger women as competition rather than proteges. Younger women naturally seek protection and provision from established men. So when we start talking about established men, men don't typically hit their financial stride until 40, 45. And I'll break that down as well. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and read this, and then I won't have any breaks in it, okay? Now, society vilifies these natural pairings while promoting alternatives that may not serve women's best interest. Now, understanding the sexual market value is this. Women's value arc is intrinsic from birth. A woman's primary value, her youth, her beauty, and fertility, is biological and peaks early. The peak window for a woman is ages 20 to 30. It represents maximum reproductive potential and attractiveness. The declining curve starts at 30. Fertility risk increase and options decrease as well. Optimal timing. Marriage around 24 to 26 balances maturity with peak biological value. Now, the double standard that we have in society today is 18-year-old women can go out there and do whatever they want to, but if they make mistakes, all you hear is the lack of accountability. You see that in the Diddy case with Cassie. She started messing with him when she was 19 years old. It was okay for her to make that decision. It wasn't illegal for her to make that decision. But now everybody wants to pile up on Diddy as she is a victim versus a lot of these choices she made on her own. And she has to be held accountable for the choices that she makes. So for any man or any woman, when you're talking about going out here in the world, if you're going to take on responsibility, then you have to accept the good and the bad with that. You can't accept the glory when you get something that's good and then run and hide behind being a little girl or just a girl when things go bad. If you're going to be out there making decisions, you should be held 100% responsible for your decisions, because everything that's going on around you in your life, man or a woman, you have manifested that around you. And the only way to change what's going on around you is you have to change what's going on inside of you. All right, moving forward. The men's value arc is this. It's built through effort. Men must develop resources, skills, and statuses over time. Now, peak achievement is financial stride, typically reaches around 40 to 45, as I said. Now, ascending curve. Unlike women, men's value often increases with age and accomplishment. And the natural selection is successful older men logically choose younger, fertile partners. I'll get into that. Now, here is where we're talking about the fertility suppression mechanism. The message delivered here is older women, particularly those without children or whom have delayed family formation, promote these types of phrases. Focus on your career first. This is towards younger women from them. Marriage and children can wait. Be selfish in your best years. You can have it all later. So this is from a schematic standpoint, this is what older women are telling younger women instead of giving them real game. Now, what's the hidden motive? In case you don't know, validation seeking, justifying their own choices. This is older women trying to justify their own choices. This is older women having competitive elimination, reducing younger women's advantages. If they can get younger women to start thinking about other things outside of what they are primed for, then that lessens the competition. So when men do get to their peak and they're looking to have a wife and settle down, all that's available is all available. Now it's a feat that they're trying to achieve, older women are, because older women can't compete with younger women. So this is their way of acting like they are being mentors to younger women, but they're actually predators in sheep clothing and designer clothing, rather. Okay, and so competitive elimination, reducing younger women's advantages, and misery loves company, sharing regret rather than wisdom. So they're sharing their regrets rather than the things that they learned along the way that they shouldn't do to make sure that the next generation is better. They're not going to do that because they're in competition with them. These are the same women that are in their late 30s and 40s that are in the club, just like the girls that are in their 20s. Now, mathematically, the reality is this. A woman who has her first child at age 25, when the child becomes 20 years old, she will be 45 years old. Now, that's the prime time for grandchildren. But what's happening, because they're putting off and delaying it, is you have a 40-year-old woman who has a child. And then when that child is 20, she's 60. Now, the problem with that is she's limited the time for extended family joy. Now, I got to tell you something. It's innate about a woman to be nurturing. It's innate about a woman to be fruitful and multiply. It's innate for a woman to produce children. That is one of the many reasons, but the main reason of their creation. They are the ones that are responsible for the continuum. And respectfully, women don't create children. Women cultivate children. Men give women the seed, and the woman takes the seed and cultivate it. This is what we're getting mixed up in our society, because society is teaching women that the children belong to them, but the seed, according to the scriptures and according to many spiritual and religious texts, the seed belongs to the man because the man holds the seed. All right. Now, the pairing problem, okay, natural attraction dynamics. So men value youthfulness, beauty, fertility, and adaptability or compliance. Women value provision, protection, stability, and leadership. Just like Snow White when she went to the forest, those dwarfs provided that for her. Now, the optimal match is an established older man who's maybe 40 to 45 years old that has hit his stride and now ready for the younger woman who's 24 to 28 years old. So that's key, very key. From a society standpoint, we go against that. And when I say we, who's given most women leadership today? Well, most children, especially in the black community, are coming into the world 80% to a single parent, and most of the children are coming to the single parent of just a mother. We always know, and we know that statistically, a two-parent household and a single-parent household headed by the father statistically compare similarly. But there is a huge drop-off on everything when a woman is raising a child, no matter whether it's a boy or a girl, because women are designed to maintain and nurture the children, but that's not raising the children. Men raise and shape the children. Just like at a football game, the coaches get the players ready to play. The cheerleaders are rooting and encouraging the play of the players. But if the players do not have the work ethic and they don't have the preparation for the game, no matter how much the cheerleaders cheer for the players, they're going to go out there and they're going to lose. They're going to go out there because they're not prepared. They're going to go out there and get smacked around. And that's such as life. You could have the best intentions as a mother, but you can't raise in particular boys to be men. And you can see the type of men that we have now that are out here today. Most women don't want to deal with those types of men, but we can look at the mothers who raised them by themselves. And it's not no fault on their own because they intentionally raised them wrong. It's just that it's not in a woman to do something that she is not capable of doing. And raising a boy to be a man, or giving the perspective of how, from a male side, how to act and conduct herself as a lady is something that her father does, not her mother. And most single women, they have a gripe with the children's father, and they're not encouraging the children to have a relationship with their father or for the father to be in their lives. They're pretty much interested in only the child support and not so much the emotional support. All right. So now, why age gap relationships make sense? Okay. Biological alignment. His peak resources meet her peak fertility. Okay. Because a man who hits peak in terms of his provisions and his protections, he's going to want to leave a legacy. Who's better to give him a legacy? A woman that might have fertility problems, or a woman that has no fertility problems or less chances of her having fertility problems? He's going to choose the best option available to him. But older women are trying to psycho manipulate young women and men to discourage them from choosing the best options, simply because they're ready to be the option and they're not the best version of themselves. And that's not fair to a man who's worked hard to become who he is, whether you like that or not. Now, complementary needs. His stability meets her youth and adaptability. Talking about women talking about compliance, a younger woman is more apropos to being compliant to a man and his vision than an older woman who's set in her ways. It's just what it is. It's easier to build something into clay. A lot of people like the scary word of he's grooming her. But what do we call the husband? The husband's the groom. Why is that the case? Because the husband needs, in order for his wife to be most effective, he has to teach her and show her the way he needs things done for him, and she has to submit her authority to him. Go look in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. It tells you that. Tells you that a woman needs to submit authority to a man's authority. Not any man's authority, but the right authority. And that can be hard for a woman today to differentiate without her father, because her father is supposed to help her in the process of who is her husband. That's why they say, who gives this woman away? And it's never the woman. It's always supposed to be the man. Now, legacy building. Both parents optimizes for family formation, and mutual benefit is maximum value exchange for both parties. Now, here is the vilification campaign, okay? Who opposes natural pairing? So we talked about that. A peak man should marry a peak woman, and a peak man and a peak woman goes together hand in hand. But the only ones that are against a peak man and a peak woman getting together is an older woman who delayed family and who delayed marriage because she wants that. And now she's at a competitive disadvantage. So if she is in competition with anyone, she's not going to give the game to who she's in competition with. She's going to come in the guise of mentorship, but really and truthfully, she's a wolf in sheep clothing. She's just doing it so eloquently. All right. Now, who opposes these? Career-focused women who delayed family formation. That's who. Older women competing for the same high-value men. Society promoting egalitarian ideals over biological realities. Now, the false narratives. Now, here's 4 quotes that fit the false narrative here. He's manipulating her. This is coming from the older women. She can't think for herself. So she's backhanding you, downplaying it's seeming in a positive way, like she's protecting the younger woman, but she's backhanding that young woman's ability to be able to think for herself. Age gaps are inherently problematic. That's what they're saying. And what could you possibly have in common with a younger woman? And she should date men her own age. Now, there is nothing wrong with a younger woman dating a man young and her age. My wife and I did that. But here is one of the reasons that my wife opted to date me and I wasn't in my element. Number one, she came from a mom and dad structure. My wife came from a structure where her mom and her dad were married and her dad was present to help her. Agreement or disagreement, her dad was there to help her. So my wife wasn't out there like a lot of modern women running around looking for daddy characteristics. What are those daddy characteristics? Well, those daddy characteristics are take me shopping, pay for my nails. I ain't going 50-50. I'm looking for a man to provide and protect. He needs to be able to provide everything for me. Well, guess what? The only person that does that is your father. Your father is the only one that's responsible for doing that for you. When you get married, it's supposed to be 2 powers coming together to make better. So a marital-minded woman has skills that she willingly is bringing to the table for the edification of what's being built. Remember, just like Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 says, it says that a woman is submitting her authority to his authority. What does that mean? That means that if a woman is submitting her authority, that means she already has some type of authority. That means she already has some type of skill. That means she has already something that she's bringing of great value to the table. And from a singular standpoint, she can stand on her own, albeit it's not the best choice, but she can stand on her own. She can provide for herself food, water, shelter, and she can provide the lifestyle that she is expecting for a man to provide. But you see, a lot of times a woman, she can provide a lifestyle for herself, but her expectations get delusional and through the roof when it comes to a man and the expectations of her. It's okay for her to eat at Chick-fil-A, for her to eat at Chipotle, but for him, that's not good enough to eat there. It's not even good enough for women to eat at Cheesecake Factory today. Why is that? Because her delusional high above the cloud standards that's not realistic says that he needs to provide on an elite level. And the reality of the situation, if we step out of that delusion, is that it's harder 20 years ago than it is now to be able to take care of basic things. I told you before in videos in the past that every year, every 20 years, about 20 years, the cost of living doubles. So what grandfather was able to do on his single factory income for him and his family, the average man can't do that on today's income. The average income of a white man is about $50,000. And that is hard on his own, let alone to be able to provide the delusional lifestyle for a modern thinking woman. It's just ridiculous. Now, should a man provide a home? Yes. Should a man be able to pay bills? Yes. Should a man be able to provide food and clothing? Absolutely. But that's a standard that's realistic. But the delusional standard is it's got to be this type of restaurant. It's got to be these types of clothing. It has to be these types of shoes. It has to be these types of bags. And what's causing this delusional nature is social media. You could have a good thing going with a guy that you're with, but you see somebody else having better, and now you think your man needs to step up the game. And when he's not able to step up the game as fast as you'd like, you're leaving him. Okay? So let's move backwards. Let's move back to the thing. When it talks about the reality check of the situation, and I kind of went into that, a successful 45-year-old man choosing between a 45-year-old woman who is limited in her fertility, set in her ways, or higher risk pregnancies versus a 25-year-old woman which has peak fertility, she's adaptable, and she is optimal for family building. Because the 25-year-old is clay, the 45-year-old is concrete. Can you shape concrete? Yes, but you're going to have to get the heavy tools out. But even delusional women that are older are saying, I need a man that can handle me. Men don't want to handle women. They want some semblance of self-sufficiency in the terms of helping him and being a helpmate and companion. All right, moving forward. The long-term consequences for women who delay family and who delay marriage are the following. Reduced options. Competing with younger women from a disadvantaged standpoint. We don't even have to compare them to younger women. We can compare, let's use a very, very beautiful woman that you're imagining right now that's an entertainer. She can be very, very beautiful at 45 years old, but could she compete with the 25-year-old version of herself? Absolutely not. Because you know what happened along the way? She developed bad habits, or she developed habits that work for her perhaps, but it doesn't work for being in a relationship. Stone versus clay. Okay? Higher risk from geriatric pregnancies and fertility challenges. This is the long-term consequences for older women. Another one is isolation risk. You know, becoming a cat lady or a dog mom and as companionship substitutes. Okay? You see that a lot. You see a lot of beautiful women who has tried to convince everybody that she didn't want children and she's okay not having children and she's okay because she's got some nieces and nephews or whatever the case may be. It's not the same, but okay. She's just trying to sell a pipe dream because she really secretly, she wants what she wants, but it doesn't sound reasonable or feasible. So she tries to talk younger women out of it because misery loves company, and miss compound benefits like lost years of building marriage, which marriage is a retirement account. I've said this before. When you get married because of the children. Because what other reason would it be to get married? Now, marriage front end is more so for the children. But when the children fly out of the nest and you have an empty nest, all of that you built up was like a retirement account, like a 401k, like stocks, mutual funds, or whatever the case may be. You are putting something in there with consistency, and it grows with interest. So later on, when the children have flown the nest, you have something established. Maybe when you get into your 40s and your 50s and your 60s, you start aching a little bit, you start to debilitate a little bit, or you start losing energy to do some of the things that you used to do. It is absolutely ideal to have a companion to be right there to help you, because you can get somebody to do those things for you, but it costs money. What's better to pay in your later years? Pay in love payments, or pay in financial payments? And we're talking about the disadvantage between the cost of living versus trying to pay for things with the cost of living versus how much a person making. It's not the same 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. All right. Now, marriage investment model. As I was stating earlier, marriage functions like a retirement account. Early sacrifices, focusing on children and partnership over individual desires. See, because teamwork make the dream work. See, some of you ladies who have not been privy to play sports and play or do group things, you don't understand the power concept of teamwork. Now, the acronym TEAM stands for together, everyone achieves more. Because two is a multiple. This is common sense. One's not a multiple, so you can do good all by yourself. But like Neo said, you're a force. Maybe I shouldn't have used Neo, but it's saying a force when he's together. And I can use Neo. Neo's opted to have 4 women in his life. And everybody's hating him and trying to vilify, but they're being productive at it, and they are all in cahoots and agree with it. Teamwork makes the dream work. Now, compound growth, building wealth, companionship, and shared life together. Later dividends, mutual support through health challenges and aging. Older women need help the most. Older women use healthcare the most. These things cost money. And we can look at something simple as Medicare. Medicare is expected to go bankrupt in less than 10 years. We're talking about 2032. They're expecting it to go bankrupt. According to PolitiFact or Politico, double check me on that. It's expected to drop 22%. It's expected to drop down to 78% of what the benefits are. Now, that doesn't bode well for inflation, right? So those dollars, even if they stay the same by 2032, the dollar is getting weaker. See, when you're thinking with your emotions, you're not thinking about tomorrow. You're thinking about what affects you right now. That's why it's an easy trip on younger women to get them to not focus on using their best years to get a family, to secure the best type of husband or anything like that. And the only difference between a woman who is single wanting her experiences and a woman who is married wanting her experiences, guess what? She can still have all of the experience with someone that she can without someone, except one experience. More eggplants to jump on. That's the only difference. The only experience she deprives herself of when she gets married is multiple eggplants to jump on. Is that what is really worth not getting married in your best years? Makes no sense. All right, moving on. I said mutual support through health challenges and aging, and then the team advantages: 2 is a multiple, 1 isn't. Combined resources and care. Now, even if a woman's not majoring in financial gain for the family, she can certainly make money, and she can certainly minor in something. She can run an at-home business. She could hit a lick, and it could help her husband. So just because a woman's primary role in a marriage is to nurture doesn't mean that she can't help chip in on a minor level from a standpoint of provision and protection. And just like a husband's primary role is to be a provider and a protector, doesn't mean he can't be nurturing. I have 3 daughters with my wife. 3 daughters, 4 in all, but I have 3 daughters with my wife. Do you think that provision and protection only is sufficient for them? My wife has to have something in her tank to be able to give to my children. If I'm not pouring some sort of nurturing into her, then she's going to be depleted from nurturing. She needs nurturing too. Oftentimes, because a wife is sacrificing for her children, she oftentimes can forget about her. So, you know what my role is also from provision and protection? It's also to give her some nourishment, to make sure I'm looking out for her, to make sure that certain things that she's neglecting herself taking care of, that they get taken care of. She reminds me of things that I forget to do. I remind her of things that she forget to do. So it's a teamwork making the dream work. But see, you're too caught up in the possibilities, which I'll get into later, instead of the probabilities. So moving on, and right on cue, possibilities versus probabilities. Now, what's possible? Okay, what's possible for a woman who puts off her best years in securing the best kind of husband and family to extend her joy in terms of the things her children are going to accomplish? Because remember, when her child is 20 and she had the child at 45, she's 65 years old. She's got a smaller window of mortality to enjoy her children, and might not even get a chance to enjoy her grandchildren like she wants to by putting it off. And we see right now a lot of women, especially feminists, they complain that women being in the house, women being wives, that's some sort of slavery or whatever the case may be. But statistically, women are more depressed now than they ever were. It's not working. It's not working. Femininity doesn't thrive in the world. Masculinity does. Masculinity is built for the world. Femininity is built for protection. So if a woman opts to go out into the world, she has to sacrifice femininity to operate in masculinity to be able to thrive. Because if she doesn't, she's going to get chewed up and spit out by the world. But that's another story. All right. So let's look at this. What's probable? Here are the probabilities for an older woman. Remember the word probable. Diminished options compared to her younger self. Competition with women in their biological prime. Compressed timeline for relationship building and family formation. Mathematical disadvantages in the sexual marketplace. Now, what's probable? Because, see, when you deal in reality, you deal with what's probable, right? And probable is anything over 50%. Just like divorce is probable. But we can say, well, see, that's why I shouldn't get married. But 80% of all divorces that are happening, especially in our community, are filed by women. It's something that women control and have to be accountable for. But again, the path forward when we're talking about probable, and I've went over those things. So probable reflects reality, possible reflects fantasy. Now, the path forward. This is the solution. This is the absolute solution to solve this problem, whereas the economy was founded on the nuclear family. You know, mom, dad, children. It wasn't founded on, family is not the broken home. That's not what the nuclear family is. And we're trying to make it that. Have the honest conversation. Young women deserve to understand. Now, some young women are going to take that understanding and they go off and they're going to do the wrong thing anyway. Ain't nothing you can do about that. But a lot of younger women, when they hit 35 and they wake up and realize, they go, oh my gosh, I blew a critical window to having children. Now I met somebody at 35, and if you're fortunate enough, you meet a good guy, but probably is not the best option of what you could choose. It was just the best option available. You know, you probably have kids and they probably have kids, so you got to blend that. And all of that is added weight to something that can be built from the ground up. And it is possible that, and you've seen it, where a man and a woman get together. She's beautiful. She's 35. He's whatever age he is. Let's just say for the sake of argument, he's 35 too. And they got everything. She's got her career. He's got his career. They combined. They don't have any financial problems. And bam, they're trying to have children and they're having some challenges. And when they go to the doctor to find out about those challenges, the doctor says, you're geriatric. You're going to have problems having children. or you're at risk of having complications if you have children. Now they've got to spend all this hard-earned money on in vitro fertilization, finding a surrogate, so many different types of things that they wouldn't have to afford to worry about if she was having children in her 20s. All right. The mathematics of sexual marketplace value, they need to know that. Young women need to know the trade-offs between career timing and family formation. She also needs to know the compound benefits of early partnership investment. You're not going to have a big retirement account unless the earlier you start, the better. Now, I don't agree that a woman who turns 18 needs to get in a relationship. 19, 20. I don't even believe a woman who just turned 21 should get in a relationship. I think that those few years are critical for her to experience the world and how it operates, what she's good at, what she's not good at, for the further development and advancement of her brain. And she needs to be able to create a track record of making sound decisions, because when she does get married, she's going to inherit whatever her husband is building or built. And if she's not a sound decision maker, she'll squander everything for her family that he or they worked for, because she won't know how to operate it. So she needs to be able to make sound decisions. Some of the sound decisions that a young woman needs to make is she needs to make the sound decision to not dedicate her to being a city girl, to not dedicate her to being having a hot girl summer, for her dedicating herself to being exclusive with her body, for her having some chast, for her not messing with just anybody, for her focusing on who she is and what she's capable of doing, so she can go into something with a skill set that is definitive. Because when you ask a lot of modern women today, hey, what do you bring to the table? It is not a question that they want to answer. It is a question they don't know how to answer, and it is something that they aren't really thinking about, because society makes men know what they need to bring to the table when it comes to a relationship, but it doesn't harp on young women knowing what they need to bring to the table. And from a mentorship standpoint, men are vilified for trying to teach a young woman that, because he's probably grooming her. Well, he may be grooming her, but if he's not doing anything in contradiction to what the Most High is saying, then it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. As long as he's not putting his hands on her, he's not touching her, this, that, and the other, people are going to have a problem. But at the end of the day, all husbands are grooms. All husbands are groomed. Even the Bible says, how can you love me and you don't keep my commands? How are you going to keep commands of the Most High if you don't learn them? You have to be impressionable enough and adaptable enough to change your ways to fit his ways. And you have to take up his way, his truth, and his life. That's what he says. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. And if you can't take those three things into consideration, you're not following what he's saying. So let's move back to the challenge. Now, having these conversations without being dismissed as outdated or traditional, we got to eliminate feminists from doing that, because they're hurting young women. The next thing is calling it misogynistic or anti-feminist. Well, feminists didn't do... What has feminists done for women? They made them more depressed. They took them out of their natural element of what nature says. And it has not been beneficial for women, because it has feminine women operating in masculinity. And no real man who's operating in masculinity wants to invite masculinity into his home, because masculine and masculine comes together like this, to blows. And masculine is in territory, fight, and competition. So it's always going to be some tension between masculine and masculine. But masculine and femininity, they go together seamlessly. A woman operating in her full femininity and a man operating in his full masculinity is seamless in so many ways. Yes, she's going to have to learn his program. Yes, she's going to have to learn his methodology and his ways, but he's the visionary and head of his family. So therefore, she needs to be in cahoots with him, because a coach can be a great coach, but if the players don't listen to the coaches, then the coach is going to get fired and look like the bad guy. He's going to be the fall guy, and the team's not going to win. And isn't it about winning, or is it about losing and getting statistics? Because you got people that'll do that. They're good with statistics, but they ain't gonna never win anything, because they're not on a team that works together. All right. So limiting women's choices. So we have to have conversations without being dismissed as limiting women's choices. This isn't limiting women's choices. I told you, women can have any kind of experience they want as a single person or a married person. The only difference is the single person gets to hop on eggplants. The married woman, she doesn't hop on any eggplants except the one she's married to. But does she get to travel? Yep. Does she get to go to fine dining? Yes. Does she get to experience things with someone? Absolutely. She can experience them with her husband. Even better, she can experience them with her husband and children. She can have many, many different experiences, and she's allotted more time to have those experiences. So if a woman is 24, 25 years old and she gets married, and let's just say every 2 years she has a kid, and let's just say she has 4 kids, let's do the simple math. 28 when she has her first one, 30 when she has her second one, 32 when she has her third one, 34 when she has her fourth one. And I'm stretching it out for the purpose of she might not be able to have that child at 32 or 34, but my goodness, in her peak years, isn't she glad that she had a couple of kids when she was 32, when she was in her 20s? But she doesn't have that option if she opts out of doing those things when she's in her 20s. So she can have every experience she wants. And what does a woman gain from hopping from one eggplant to another eggplant? I'm going to tell you what she gains. She becomes psycho. Why? Because every time she lays with a man, she's pair bonding with that man. And statistics show that when a woman gets to 5 partners sexually, she loses 80% of her pair bonding ability. What does that mean? It's going to be hard for her to connect with somebody no matter how good they are for her. She will probably be a runner. She will probably be a track star. And more importantly, that DNA is going to be painted all over her insides and in her brain. Go look it up. I'm not making this up. Moving on. And we're wrapping up here. So here are the stakes. The current trajectory leads to increasing number of childless older women. Look at the current administration. I think they're trying to give out, and check me on this, trying to encourage women to have children for $5,000 incentive. Now, I'm not going to deep dive into that, but you see, fertility is an issue. Women are opting not to have children, and when they want to have children, they can't have children because of their age and the biological clock. Another thing is delayed family formation with higher risk. You can have children when you get older, but the risk is going to be higher. And how can you be assured of what the risk is for you? The third thing is intergenerational conflict over mate selection. Think about that. Intergenerational conflict over mate selection. You got older women vilifying older men for messing with younger women, and then you have older women slapping down and fertility suppressing younger women to opt out of using their peak years of fertility and beauty for selfish gain that they did as now older women that they regret but won't tell them. They're predators. These older women who are doing that are nothing short of predators to younger women, claiming that men are doing the damage. And yes, there are bad men out there, but they should be helping to guide them and stop looking at younger women as competition and start seeing themselves in younger women and wanting better for them. But we know today's modern woman is really catty. So the conclusion, the Snow White paradigm reveals how well-meaning but misguided advice from older women can trap younger women into suboptimal life strategies. By understanding the biological realities of sexual marketplace dynamics and the mathematics of fertility timing, women can make truly informed choices rather than following cultural narratives that may have not served their deepest desires for family, companionship, and long-term fulfillment. The goal isn't to limit women's choices. It's not. But to ensure they understand the full scope of consequences before making irreversible decisions about timing, the most important aspect of their lives. So guys, hope you like this video, hope you understand, and more importantly, I hope you take accountability and responsibility to make sure that those that are in your reach, those that you love, you let them know the real, so you give them the opportunity to make informed decisions. And stop, for goodness sake, and I'll use this as a last example. You know, Cassie referred to the 22-year-old girl that Diddy was messing with as a little girl. But she didn't see herself as a little girl when she started messing with Diddy at 19. 19. She was much younger than the girl that she was calling a little girl at 22. You know why? Because she felt like she was grown and nobody could stop her from making that decision. Can you stop an 18 or 19-year-old from making that decision? No, because they have legal protections to ensure that they can make their own decisions. And here's me personally, if you're saying that women that make decisions when they're 19, 20, 21 years old, 22 years old, you're saying that they are not finished developing, then there should be something in there to protect them from making decisions that they will regret. That's why I say a woman's not going to look back a woman's not going to look at what she's jumping from eggplant to eggplant as something that she's doing that called damnation to herself when she's doing it. No, she'll look at that in her later years. Look at Brittany Renner. Look at all of the stuff she did. I've been with this many guys, twerking on guys, doing all kinds of things, bringing attention to herself, bringing attention to her body, devaluing herself, and putting herself in a position to be valued as a fun girl, but not as a relationship girl. And then ultimately at the end, and it's not just her, many women turn to faith after they've done all that they wanted to do, and they're starting to see it catch up to them. Now, could she have still did that if she got the right information? Absolutely. Just like you can raise 4 children the same way and they can have different outcomes. But if you give them the information that they need to make sound decisions, it will be up to them to make the sound decisions. But our older women are not giving our younger women a chance to make sound decisions because our younger women are completely oblivious to the information that could save them from making detrimental decisions and choices. And I'm sorry, a man's future matters to women, but a woman's past matters to men. And it ain't got nothing to do with being insecure. Just like it doesn't have anything to do with a woman being a gold digger about a man and his path to the future. It's okay to do that in society, but it's not okay for a man to be concerned about a woman's past. He's insecure. We got to change the narrative about that. Hope you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. As I drop things, you'll get notifications by you hitting the bell. Like this video. Leave a comment in terms of what you think about this, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. I'd love to hear your side of the story. And then also, like this video, if I didn't say this already, to help me with the algorithm so that we can get this positive message in front of everybody. Because remember, we might have different roles, but all of us make up the body, and the whole body's got to function for the whole body to be able to do amazing things. Thank you.